and set that going. In light of the fact that it is 6:02, let's go ahead. I will post the recording on the Facebook page. The last time it shut down on me, but want to welcome everybody here. It's a beautiful day, even though they keep threatening snow flurries later on tonight. We'll see if that works out. Couple of special events coming up. We have several birthdays. Mary Hilborn's birthday is on April 22nd. Nancy Reitz will be celebrating her birthday on May 4th, and she was one of our sages this year. And Suzanne Springree is from Connections, is May 5th. So remember that, Elaine.
It's on my calendar now.
Okay, all right. And Roxanne Amadon is in Florida right now, so she's pre-celebrating her birthday, which will be on May 22nd. Don't have any anniversaries, but one of the things to keep in mind with May coming up, it is Kiwanis Membership Month. Well, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our speakers tonight, and we've actually met the first person. Our speakers are co-chairs for the Delaware African American Heritage Council, and Tamika Vinson-Reid. If you joined us for the Connections program, you will remember that she came on and joined them. Tamika is very active in Delaware. She is involved with One People, very busy with the Second Ward. She's very busy at Zion AME Church. And with Connection, she's the marketing and development director. So I'm pleased to recognize her as one of our speakers, as the co-chair. Melissa, besides being famous for one of my students, has worked with the Delaware County Prosecutor's Office as a paralegal, and she is a candidate for the Delaware City School Board. So I want to welcome both of them tonight. And at this point, I have their PowerPoint on screen. So is it all right, ladies, if I share my screen and you can go ahead and begin? So. All right.
There we go. So, hello, everybody. As Dick just mentioned, I am Melissa Harris. Tamika is going to jump in here shortly, but I'm going to get us started. So yes, we are leading the community and understanding the African American experience. We are the Delaware African American Heritage Council. You want to go ahead and go to the next slide there, Dick?
Yeah.
We're going to go pretty quickly. So
oops, hold on a second. I just lost that screen.
That's okay.
I did that once before.
I think the next screen is just it just shows pictures of Tamika and I believe.
Okay.
There we go.
Come on. There we go.
So yes, we're just going to talk about our story, our mission and vision, our strategic plan, what programs we have had, and then our partnerships, and how we're looking to form more partnerships and expand our partnerships that we currently have. So you can go on to the next one there. And that's our picture of Tamika and myself. We'll go ahead to the next one, then I'll talk about some real stuff. All righty. So here's our story. The photo that is taken there was our first Delaware City Schools Black History Month program. And how we started basically, the slide says there, in October of 2018, we're a group of parents and community members that we were unsatisfied with representation within Delaware City School curriculum, African American representation. Once we came together as a group, we said, hey, we kind of need a name. We're being referred to, being questioned by different people. And to further expand on that, this representation aspect, I pulled a few statistics because a lot of people don't understand representation, how important it is. So if a Black student has just one Black teacher by the third grade, that student is 13% more likely to enroll in college. Those with 2 Black teachers were 32% more likely. A low-income Black student's probability of dropping out of high school is reduced by 29% if that student has 1 Black teacher between the grades of 3 and 5. If you're a kid of color and you had a teacher of color in preschool through 5th grade, you're 39% more likely to persist through high school, meaning lower dropout rates. So of course, I mentioned representation in the classroom for students of color, but it's also extremely relevant to white students as well. That representation of different races in the classroom helps eliminate bias in impressionable young minds, and also creates acceptance despite what they're learning elsewhere, whether it be at home and other social groups. So we can go ahead and go on to the next slide there, Dick. So very simply, our mission and vision, leading the Delaware community and understanding that African-American experience. And our mission, initially when we started, is to expand, include, and elevate the historic and present-day contributions of African-Americans through education and engagement. And I say when we initially began in 2018, these are still our mission and vision. But as we became known in the community and as we were holding events, there has been a tremendous outcry from the community for additional programming, things people want to see. Parents reaching out about opportunities for their students, representation in the classrooms. So we do still stick to these mission and vision. We're just kind of been expanding a little bit upon those to help provide more needs based on what the community has been coming to us saying that their needs are. Go ahead to the next slide there. And I think this is where Tamika will take over talking about our goals here.
Thanks, Melissa. So yeah, obviously with any organization, especially a new organization, having a strategic direction is critical. Mobilizing and organizing just for the sake of coming together, you definitely need to have a North Star, and you definitely want to be able to rally around something that centers and grounds everyone. And so with our organization, we came up with 8 goals in particular to rally around and to really mobilize our activity. And so I'm not going to read them all, but I will highlight a couple of those goals for the sake of the presentation. So obviously our initial goal is to engage all stakeholders. And by stakeholders, we mean general public, anyone in Delaware County that we can engage, and to help really bring you along the educational journey of understanding what exactly is the African-American experience. So many of us, say, oh, well, I have, a Black friend, or I have a Black coworker. And many times those relationships lend itself to understanding. Many times when you're around people, you engage with people, you tend to more understand those people, right? So, what we try to do is use, again, our platform to inform the conversation. We create forums and panels and workshops, all kinds of ways, again, to just be an educational mechanism, if you will, in the community. We've had a passion around criminal justice and policing reform, both on the city and countywide level. And today, when you think about that, and then the backdrop of today, how important that is to continue to just continue to inform the community about what true community policing could look like, as opposed to what we've seen play out. And so it's really important that we work in partnership and lockstep with our law enforcement officials to make sure that there is true understanding of our experience. We understand them, there's communication. And so really just being conscious of what that relationship could look like if equitable practices were happening, and if obviously, if again, policing happened in a community, in a way that again reinforces community and reinforces respect. Goal 3, again, political empowerment, advocacy, capacity, and representation. Melissa talked about representation a bit, but political empowerment is key. When you think about that, you think about voting, making sure that people are registered to vote, making sure that people understand what the issues are, making sure that people, again, rally and mobilize around the things that matter, whether it be diversity, inclusion, and equity, the things that matter to us. Those are the things that matter, but making sure that people, again, rally around what truly matters. Expanding youth work and engagement. Again, we believe that the work that we're doing, we're a little older, so we're going to need some young people to jump into this justice movement and really be mentors and help them to develop stamina and understanding and that muscle, right, that they're going to need to push this work forward. So we really want to focus on engaging our youth at all levels. Next slide, Dick, please. Again, we just have a couple of capacity building goals. As a new organization, we want to make sure that we're building wisely and building on a firm foundation. So whether that looks like membership drives, making sure that we form strategic partnerships with organizations like Kiwanis and organizations around the city to make sure that we can work to affirm our mutual goals. That's a big part of how we plan to grow. Next slide. So we've done some pretty, I'm going to say pretty amazing work around the city over the last couple of years. And just to highlight some of that work, back in February, obviously for Black History Month, we were able to host a couple of events. And here we've just outlined a couple of those events that we hosted. We kicked off the month with a critical conversation with Delaware City Schools to explore what was happening in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space. Right now, they're working with a consultant to really help ramp up their ability to offer anti-racist curricula. And so we wanted to talk about what that looked like long term. We also did a panel discussion about active allyship. Many people are just really starting to become aware of what social justice looks like, the social justice and equity movement. And so we thought it was imperative that we talk about what does it look like to be an active ally and how do you be an effective ally? So we had a really good conversation around that. We did the Black History Month program with Delaware City Schools. We also did a project that we've partnered with Ohio Wesleyan University called Delaware Food Voices. And that's really just capturing the stories of how food has created culture, identity, and connection for Black, Indigenous, and people of color. So just telling those stories about how food has influenced their journey and their identity. And then finally, we partnered with First Presbyterian Church and we distributed ethnic hair care kits. And that's something that was pretty, it was a niche project, pretty unique. I don't think that many people think about those who are precariously housed, transient, homeless, in shelters, and people of color typically struggle with finding basic needs, right? Basic stuff that really speaks to what we need, and that's hair care things. And there's specific hair care things that, again, that we need. And so we felt that it would be a really great project to distribute those type of hair care products to those areas or organizations. I'm sorry, I'm stumbling on my words today. Organizations locally in Delaware. So we work with Helpline, Turning Point, and Family Promise to distribute ethnic hair care kits. Next slide. Some of the other programs that we focused on, we had a soul food soiree over at the Food Truck Depot. I'm not sure if any of you were able to come out and get over there, but it was a pretty fantastic day. The sun shined on us and great weather. Lots of people came out and just experienced food. Again, we tend to do a lot around food, but it really is a connector. And people that came out were able to experience Caribbean food and, Latin food and just a whole host, soul food, a whole host of different types of food. And again, we believe that that's a connector and way to unify our community. We also kicked off the inaugural Delaware African American Heritage Council scholarship program, which we're now offering through Delaware City Schools for African American graduating seniors. We also have a project called the Sankofa Storyteller Series. And again, it's just a way to uplift stories in the African American community. So we have our first Sankofa Storytellers event tomorrow, the 21st. And we're going to feature Ms. Higginbotham. So she is a former educator, I believe, of Delaware Hayes. And so she will be one of the stories that we will feature tomorrow at 7 o'clock on Facebook Live. So feel free to join us and uh, participate in that program. And then finally,
Dora, I'm going to interrupt you. He
oh, sure.
was at one of the elementary schools
Yeah, now
when I came in.
had a hard time getting the volume up. I got that up. Now I can't get back to the pictures.
Oh, no.
Okay,
Well,
so go ahead.
okay,
Oh, the
okay.
Sankofa storytellers. Can you
Yeah.
tell people how to get onto that? Because I'm planning on joining that tomorrow.
Absolutely. So you can actually go out to Facebook and look for the Delaware African American Heritage Council, or you can find us at Delaware AAHC. And if you can do that in a search engine, it will be on Facebook Live. So once you get to our page, you'll see the actual program happen live. You won't have to register or do anything fancy. Just get to our page and you'll be right there. All right, so next slide. And so one of the important things that we want to convey to the group this evening is, there are ways that you all can help be a part of this movement, ways that you can help us achieve some of the goals that we mentioned in our strategic plan. And one of the ways that we can definitely see potential partnership is with the scholarship fund. Again, this is something that we're offering for the first time this year. We are really trying to clear any financial hurdles or barriers for students of color in particular to achieve higher education. And so this is one of the things that we came up as a group, again, because we want to affirm students of color, especially in the context that they're in now, where they are not seeing, African-American teachers and coaches and on a regular basis. So we really felt that this was a way to affirm their experience and affirm them as students. Secondly, we are advocating, and this is something, again, that you all can be a part of, is that we are advocating for the reinstatement of a diversity director at Delaware City Schools. And so whether that's showing up at a Board of Education meeting to speak at the meeting, or if it's writing a letter of support, or if it's making a phone call, all of us around this screen have the ability to make change and make a difference. And we really feel that this position, which was once had before, and Dick, you may have been around when Denise Clater held this position, I'm not sure, but it was once a position and it just kind of dissipated and went away. And so we really want to bring that position back because we really think that there's value and there's space and it's needed. And so that's something that we're working on as well. Some of the other things we're doing, partnering with the Ross Museum, a community art project. Again, we can use voices and hands and ideas and thoughts to make that happen. And eventually we'd like to get some office space, hire a part-time director, engage our youth through a project called Delaware Dream Keepers. And then finally, we're going to continue to work on developing ethnic studies curricula for Delaware City Schools. Next slide. So if you'd like to get in contact with either Melissa or myself, our contact information is there. You can also follow us on Facebook. We're on Twitter as well. You can email us with any ideas, feedback, insight. We welcome and open to all people. Again, this is about uplifting, African-American, the experience, but also uplifting our students and making sure that we all belong in this community. And I think for so long, many people haven't felt that way. And so we want to make sure that all people belong, all people feel welcome, and we get a chance to learn about each other. Because I think at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's about us coming together, understanding each other, and learning how to coexist peaceably. We all bring value, we all belong. And hopefully, if you want to be a part of that journey with us, come join us. Thank you.
All right. I've got a quick question for Tamika. How many Black teachers are there right now in the Delaware City schools? When I came in '76, we had Sarah Hergen at Hayes. She was the only teacher of color at the high school. Theodora Higginbartham was at one of the elementary schools. Charlene Tynes was, and Rhea Williams. And I may be missing somebody, but I think that was it. And it took us a long time. We ended up getting Steve Brogdon at Hayes. I don't know if you were there, Melissa, when Steve was in the science department. And then we had a gentleman in the ROTC department, and totally has slipped my mind. I'll probably remember it about 3 o'clock in the morning. But those were the only people that I had. Now, today I know Francine Butler is at Hayes. And I know there's a couple new ones at the elementary schools, but how many do we have presently?
I want to venture an estimate to say less than 15. I know there's 4 at the high school, Dr. Bolden, Miss Butler, as you mentioned, Mr. Butts, who is, I think, science, and he's also a coach. There's a counselor now. I cannot recall her name. Melissa, you may know her name.
Kier Smith.
We have an assistant principal at Dempsey, Brittany, Nolan, and there may be maybe 2 at Woodward. So we're still probably in the same boat that we were in about 30 years ago.
And that includes faculty, staff, administration. That 15 is across the board.
Considering how many several hundred teachers and staff members are employed, does not bode well. It's sad. I always worried that we didn't have a good representation in all the different areas. They were just teachers when I was there. For instance, I don't remember any educational assistants in any of the buildings, any of the library folks, any of the cafeteria folks, at least not at Hayes, that were of color. And it's like, we needed a good representation of, if we're talking about 15 after all these years, that doesn't say a whole lot. So,
Dick?
Yeah.
I'd like to make a couple of comments. I graduated from high school in 1959 in Charleston, West Virginia. My favorite teacher was a woman of color. And because of her, I went to college and got a degree in kindergarten primary education. That lady was responsible for me being a member of the Honor Society in high school. That lady sent me cookies when I was in college and notes to give me a boost to keep going. And so I have many fond thoughts of her. I was amazed because one of the first things she told me, she was an English teacher, was that she had 7 years of Latin. That impressed me to no end. So I had the opposite experience of what some of our students of color are having now. But along that line, I want you to know that I am the Kiwanis advisor for Key Club. And some of the best students that I have worked with have been boys of color. And they have been amazing and really have touched my heart in many ways. I also have a question for you. In the years that I have belonged to Kiwanis, our club has had 2 members of color. One of them was Tom Mitchell, and he was in our club for many, many years and did a lot of things with our club, but I could not get him to invite any of his family members, which were many, to join our club. And then I met Sarah Wilson, and I talked Sarah into joining our club. Those are the only 2 we've had. So
actually, I'll correct you, Sharon. We had the African American ROTC instructor for a while. And I remember his first name was Richard.
Oh,
And
that's correct.
he was at Downs Chapel in one of the condos there, and then
We,
ended up I think leaving Delaware City. So he was a member for 3 or 4 years.
we also had Larry Green. I forgot about Larry.
Ah.
And he left Delaware and went someplace else too. But anyway, we're looking for members, ladies. Help us out.
So
Message received loud and clear.
any other questions for Tamika or Melissa? You know, as a retired teacher from Delaware, I really welcome this and hope this will bear fruit. And yes, I remember working with some of the different people who it was an African-American person that came in, and it wasn't diversity. It was just an African-American resource person at the administration building. And we had about 3 of them, and then boom, they were gone. Too bad.
Too bad. And, let me just, this parting thought, part of why representation is important. So not only do our students of color need mirrors, they need to see themselves in the literature and the history and everything that they study, but it also provides windows for people who are not of color, right? You've got to be able to not only see yourself, but look through and understand that there's so many nuances when it comes to the African-American experience and African-American history. And it's not always a history of suffering and struggle. There's a history of triumph. There's a history of, again, we're protagonists, like we've overcome. And so there's histories of ancient African civilizations, and all of that is important for students to see through that window. So that's why, again, curriculum becomes such an important and transformative tool, because it allows everyone to see themselves and how they can embrace and kind of work together, again, just for the sake of humanity. So it's important.
It is. It is. Anybody else have questions? Well, I want to thank you ladies for taking on the co-chairmanship of this association. And I think there's probably ways that some of us can definitely get involved, especially since one of the things that Kiwanis stands for is that we're serving the youth of the world. And of course, it starts with the youth in Delaware. So thank you. Thank you for sharing this message. And I do want to give a moment to Miss Stephanie, as I introduced her to most of you who were on. She is our present Lieutenant Governor for Division 11 South, and she's joining us tonight. And I just want to ask her if she has any words she would like to share with us. Are you muted, Stephanie? No? Okay, you're gonna have to do sign language. I don't know. It's your microphone isn't picking up.
Bob over there.
Not the only one that has problems.
I was just gonna say, is that why you're laughing, Bob?
It took me 15 minutes to find the volume to get it turned up.
You'll have to send us a message and I'll share it with the club. I'm sorry about that, Stephanie, but I think it's on your end because earlier you were talking. So I do want to share. If we could all read lips, we'd be good. I do want to share a couple of quick things. I shared information about the Derby, Soapbox Derby in Columbus this week. It's Saturday and Sunday. We're going to be there with 4 Delaware young people. We have 2 young folk from Unity Community Center. David and Maureen will be racing. And those are 2 of our students that we sponsored. We also sponsored a 3rd student, and that was Sue Cheney's granddaughter, Chelsea. So she will be racing. And we have actually Sue's other grandchild, Tyler will be racing, and he was picked up by Travis Bauman. And I don't know what businesses he operates. I know it's several. I think he's an insurance agent, but he is sponsoring Tyler's car. So there'll be 4 of us racing. There'll be several of us there working with these young people. We will be at Derby Hill, which is in Big Run Park in Southwest Columbus area, off of 270. You get off at Georgesville, turn left, and you go to Climb Road, Clime, and Derby Hill. You just follow the service drive all the way to the back of the park, and that's where we will be racing from about 8 to 3 both days. And each student will be doing about 6 different heats. So we're really excited. The kids are excited. So we're looking for a good time there. And speaking of Unity Center, they are in need of 2-liter bottles. So if you have an empty 2-liter bottle, please rinse it out, save it for me. They have a project coming up. And I do want to add that our next meeting is going to be May 6th. No, it's not May 6th, May 4th. And it's going to be, it's May 4th, and it's going to be at Old Bag of Nails. And we will be in person because a lot of us already have our vaccinations. So if you want to join us, we're asking people who are planning on eating, you need to have a mask. We'll be social distancing. Once you get in and get seated, you can take your mask off. But anybody coming in to eat, we're asking you to be there 5:45. And anybody coming who's not eating, anytime from 5:45 to 6, because we're hoping to start meetings at 6. But we're calling it Homecoming Day. And this was a name that was given to the first session that you have in person by Sue Peterson and some of the people up in the Michigan district, as I sat through a meeting earlier this last week. So that is some of the stuff coming up. Do keep an eye on your agenda. Anybody have questions or comments, things they want to share?
Hey, Dick, I'm sorry to interrupt. We have another meeting that we need to get on. So I wanted to just say thank you again. And we're going to drop off, but nice to meet everyone. And hopefully we'll come again. Thanks, Sharon.
All right. Thank you, Tamika. Thank you, Melissa. Enjoy your next meeting.
Thank you.
Now, Stephanie has been chatting with us. So, double check her chats and see what she's had to say. We're glad to have her here. And one of the things to keep in mind, we have a division council meeting coming up in May 10th. And that is going to be hosted by the Sunbury Big Walnut Club. And we will be, amongst other things, electing officers, and we'll be getting information about May being Kiwanis Member Month from Bill Pease, who is our district chair for membership. And Stephanie, since you're silent, you're still not able to talk because of your microphone, do send me anything and I will go ahead and send the message out along with notes and stuff for the meeting. Anybody else have questions, comments, anything?
A little after 9.
Okay.
Dick,
Yeah.
it would be nice if those ladies would furnish us with those statistics about students and the number of teachers as the graduation level and so forth that they gave at the beginning.
Okay. Ship me a quick email on that, because I have to go from here over to the second ward and weigh a derby car because of our little problem with possibly being overweight. So, and in the meantime, I may forget that. Bob, were you going
Okay,
to add anything? Because I know at one time it looked like you were going to.
No, I was just saying goodbye to my wife. She went to play bridge.
Oh, well, we know what's important for her. All right. Sounds good. All right. Sue, you want to give us some feelings on what you think about your two grandchildren who are going to be racing?
she's,
Maybe she's on her other meeting. I don't know. But if anybody wants to join us, I did send out that email with information about where to join us. Since we're going to be doing it all day, if people want to come down for an hour or two, we are going to have a pop-up canopy tent. And I know they're talking about possible rain showers on Saturday. So we will be undercover. But if anybody comes, bring yourself a lawn chair and watch the kids. I did have somebody at last night's STEAM club meeting at Second Ward say that they were very, very surprised when they saw David's picture posted on Facebook. He's the young man from the Unity Community Center who is racing in the STEAM club, and they said they'd never seen him smile before. And he had a smile from ear to ear. And it was really, really fun watching them on their test drive day. Since we've got a young lady and a young man competing from Unity Community Center, they ended up going down twice against each other. And Maureen won both times. So needless to say, David is very anxious to beat her.
Hey,
So,
Dick,
yes.
Sue Cheney's on mute. You might tell her that.
Well, I think she knows, but she may very well be on another meeting, because very often she is. She was having supper. Maybe she's washing dishes. But anyways, Sue's two grandkids are going to be competing as well. And it should be a fun 2 days. It'll be a long 2 days. And then on May 8th, they have the championships for Columbus. And that will determine in each of the 3 categories which drivers will go to Akron later on this summer. So we're really excited. Questions, anybody? Stephanie, I want to thank you for joining us. Elaine, good to see you again. I know Carol and I have both said that we missed not going to Sages and Secrets after it stopped. And,
I know. I always miss it when it's done too.
And I think we both had pleasant experiences, and I was glad she did too. And I think she really, really felt that it was a very valuable experience. Bob,
Yeah.
what did you think about Sages and Secrets? Unmute yourself, Bob. Unmute yourself, Bob. How did you like Stages and Secrets?
Very much. It was a good experience, both of us.
It was. I'm glad that both of you got to do it. You might even want to spread the word next fall around Willowbrook about your experiences, and maybe get Elaine a few more people to go ahead and do it. So,
okay, we'll do that.
All right. Anything else for the good of the order? All right.
I might try.
Go ahead, Sharon.
I might try it next year, Elaine, if I can figure out how to do the Zoom stuff.
Yeah, well, and so one thing is that since we were asked to do 3 sessions at the same time at Big Walnut, we actually expended our grant for the year. So if we are able to do it in the fall, we'll have to be applying for other grants. So it might be next winter, so like the early 2022 before we're able to do it. But with that being said, hopefully by that point we're in person again. So We won't have to worry about Zoom. We are talking about maybe doing like some kind of a combination, because some of the sages did like that they could, you know, like we had sages that were on vacation, but they were able to get on Zoom and participate. So, so we're talking about that. But yes, we're hopeful that by the point that we're started back up again, whether it be this fall or early 2022, we will be in person, and or at least a majority in person. So fingers crossed.
Okay, anything
We'd
else?
love to have you, that's for sure.
Anything else for the good of the order? Okay, at this point, have a good rest of the week, and I will head off to Second Ward and weigh a derby car. Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening.
You.